Yeah, hi everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are here gathered, as Jean-Christophe just said, to address to my understanding, is one of the biggest challenges of the decade regarding image-based sexual abuse, to go from CSAM to NCII being taken care of, as well as we already did in some ways. And maybe to introduce the session here as a hotline and a trusted flagger, we actually saw an increase since the COVID, I would say, of a specific type of online harm, which is sextortion, which is non-consensual, intimate imagery distribution. And so in a context, not to say too much and to give the floor to the panelists then, so in an ecosystem that managed to provide actually a clear response regarding CSAM, where regulation has been established and there have been contribution from the technology sectors and civil society. We still need to organize that response regarding IBSA and NCII. So maybe I will give the floor to Aurélie first, and then Laura Blue, etc., to maybe present yourself in a few words and then start the discussion. Julie.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. So hi everyone. I'll start with the introduction and I think I'll start the discussion on CSAM. So I'm Aurélie Besançon. I'm a senior police officer. I'm currently the head of the Minors Office, which is the French national unit responsible for fighting against all forms of violence against children. It's a relatively new unit created in September 2023, especially to focus on violences against children and more especially on sexual violences. So of course, online content is a big focus for us.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Laura Blue, and I am working as the general coordinator of an NGO called Respect Zone. And what we do at Respect Zone is that we go on the field, we do trainings and sensitization for the youth, but also for adults. We also do trainings, even for the police sometimes. And we also welcome the voices of the victims. And of course, we hear a lot about IBSAs. It's one of our main concerns on the field. And how to address the mentality and how we can change it. And we will do so. We do a lot of legal work as well and policy advisement. So yeah.
My name is Josephine Ballon. My voice is a bit weak today, so I'm sorry for this. I'm the co-CEO of Hate Aid. Hate Aid is a human rights organization based in Berlin, and we are supporting victims of online violence. We offer emotional support, privacy counseling, but also litigation financing to give those affected from online violence access to justice. And we are also very concerned about image-based sexual abuse and about nudification tools, sexualized deepfakes, stolen images that get disseminated on the internet. And we see this growing concern also in the numbers of our consultation, where no longer only people of the public eye lend, but also more and more private, of course, especially women that, just didn't know what's happening to them.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Arde Gerkens. I'm currently the president of the Authority for the Prevention of Terrorist Content and Online Child Sexual Abuse Material. Sorry for that very long name. If one would have asked, I would have probably not chosen it. We're based on two legislation. One is the European Terrorist Content Online Regulation. The other is Dutch legislation drafted specially to combat child sex abuse material which is being spread on Dutch servers or is being spread on companies that are basically targeting the Netherlands. I think we're kind of groundbreaking here because, as you all know, there's child sex abuse regulation coming from Europe, hopefully someday, because I think they're debating it ever since 2018. But at this moment, we're, gathering a lot of information on how this material is spread and what you can do as a regulator to combat it.
Okay, thank you. I'm Gerald Schaapman from the S3 Group. We are delivering a case management abuse system for open source way for fighting abuse. We are based in the Netherlands. We do that already for 20 years. And we are also delivering business critical hosting and lawful interception services.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so this session will range from CSAM starting as a starting point, and then going through more of an adult concerned approach. So I think we will start with Aurélie with some question regarding the framework around CSAM. And one of my questions would be what are the lessons we learned from the fight against CSAM, which is here for more than 20 years now? Is there any gaps, loopholes, or even success stories regarding this fight, and how can you, as a law enforcement, better help us understand what is actually working?
So for child sexual abuse material, which is CSAM, I think what we've learned, and is quite obvious but needs to be recalled, is that taking down the content is not, it's the first step. It's an efficient first step, but we cannot limit to that. We really need to go from taking down to staying down. So the focus, the purpose is really to prevent this content which has been labeled as CSAM from entering the net, the public spaces again, because it's necessary for the children for them to recover. Actually, basically, that's the point. There has been multiple researches demonstrating that as long as the material goes around the internet, the trauma cannot stop for victims. So that really is the first point I would like to highlight. Then, how do we do that? It is not a perfect, I should say it's still a work in progress, but still we have been able and lucky enough to put around some tools and organizations which are quite efficient. I'd like to talk to you about Pharos. I didn't mention previously when I was introducing myself that a colleague of mine should have been here today. She's the head of a French unit called Pharos. It's basically your equivalent in France. It's the unit responsible specifically for taking down illicit content. CSAM is one of the contents that they put down, but they also target terrorist content, and also in during a kind of a test in France, they are working on torture content. So how do they do that? They are built on two pillars: a judicial one and an administrative one, which enables them to target illicit content on the judicial side to bring the perpetrators behind the justice. And on the administrative one, the French legislation offers some prevention possibilities for us first to ask for removal of content that has been detected and is illicit. So of course I'm talking of CSAM here, but it could be other types of contents. If the providers does not stop the content, so Pharos is able either to block or to delist the content. So these are the main two pillars that have been used, and the point is that working hand in hand daily with us as an operational unit, I think it allows us to target, cover, let's say, a more vast domain, and to be able to offer them some like judicial and more in-depth informations on CSAM. Leaders are approaching, targeting the minors, what could be considered as CSAM also, because sometimes, depending on the legislations, it's not so obvious. And for them to master the technical possibilities on how to remove the content and how to target where it could appear again, basically in the internet, allows them to be more efficient also. So that's the point, and what we've seen in FAUS activities, that they are blocking and removing more and more CSAM content each year, as we saw a growing number also, sadly, of reports every year in our unit. So that's the first point, I believe. The second one would be the DSA, which has offered, I think it will be discussed again, and it has already been discussed by some previous panels, but the DSA has allowed a more generic and transversal approach with also, I think, a better cooperation between different parts. You know that, Jan? So that would be the second, I should say, lesson learned and good practice. Still, there are still some things to do in the implementation of the DSA, but let's focus on the positive. And the third and final point I would like to highlight is cooperation, a broad cooperation. Not only cooperation between police forces, which is key, of course, because we are really stronger together on this. We meet a lot, we discuss a lot, we exchange a lot on how we see the new mechanisms, how the criminals are evolving, how they are targeting the minors, in which spaces they are doing that, because today, children, they have access to the online world very soon, and somehow some games or platforms that at the beginning are not detected as a danger are populated also by criminals. So that's a way for them to target them, to groom them, and then to make them produce content. So really the international cooperation on this is key. As a more technological approach with, I think, one of the keystones are the hashes basis. We've put together, thanks to Europol and Interpol, on the one hand, some cooperation mechanism, but also some operational practices with exchanges of this basis. We are exchanging also, of course, with platforms. It's really key. The reports from the NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in the United States, is one of our major points of detection. And they also are constituting a platform for us to exchange and cooperate with online platforms. And finally, of course, NGOs. Of course.
Talking about NGOs, Laura, because now if we dive deep into like more of a adult side of the problem when it comes to image-based sexual abuse, when we talk about social issues regarding that, like what's to you are the new forms, the evolving context of IBSA today? What are the new challenges in terms of dissemination, and also I want to pinpoint that real quick, the AI generated content, the deep nudes, the deep fakes. What do you see at the Respect Zone?
So yes, we will also work with children, so this is one of the main points, of course, but what I wanted to say and what I wanted to highlight in this conversation today is that we're located in France, and sometimes we feel like when you're a victim and you're over 18, there is not much you can do. And this is why it's very important for us to have these discussions today, but also to try to work with the cooperation of, like Aurélie just said, of different actors and even platforms. So what we can say that IBSA today is evolving. We're talking about the diffusion of non-consensual images, but we have today AI generated or even modified images. But we also have something that is maybe you read about today, that would be photos that are stolen, or you, as a victim, you're not even aware that you've been photographed or filmed because maybe you're drugged or something, and this is some content that can be monetized today. And so we can see that the IBSAs are evolving, and it's not just because of AI, but also of tendencies and also of platforms that allow people to meet and engage and think about diverse actions to create those contents. So there is something to be concerned, and a lot of things to be concerned about. What we feel as a as an NGO today is how to engage with the victims, how we talked about it, and how we manage to keep those content down. Because, of course, taking them down, it's a start. There is the stay down and the burden of proof that is like so imposing on the victim today, and they have to be so vigilant. And what's something we can add about is the diffusion of those contents. They could be, of course, when we work with children, sometimes they are a bit easier to be identified, those content, because they're going to be on Instagram or Snapchat or the Instagram group of the class, and they're going to be shared very quickly, and so they could be easily taken down, identified. But when you're older, sometimes you're not even aware of that this content is actually being used, being diffused, and it could take months for you to realize that it's out there and you have no grip on it. And because maybe you will know someone that will know someone that say, oh, that it's part of a group or a signal chain or a Telegram group that is actually circulating those kind of images, that would say, oh, but someone is looking like my friend, and so they would be made aware of it. And this is something that we are very struggling with, I believe, because how can you take action when you don't know that you need to take action? So I don't know, maybe Josephine wants to add something on this?
Yeah. I was about to ask you, Josephine, because we talked about like how the content is spread online, but maybe we should also ask ourselves, who are the victims? I know at Point Contact made a great survey a few months ago, and we find out that 82% of the victims are actually women. Same kind of ensemble that in CSAM, I would say, if not worse. So yeah, what is your experience, your thoughts as a trusted flagger also, and in the victim support you made?
So we have many similar experiences when victims reach out to us about image-based sexual abuse. Then it's because they found their pictures by accident on the Google search, or they were notified by other people, in the worst case scenario from the work context about these pictures. And then the struggle begins, because oftentimes they are circulating already for years. And as I said in the very beginning, a few years ago, when we were talking about very complex image manipulation, when we were talking about maybe even face swap apps that required that there was still a bunch of material about women out there, it was mainly women in the public life. And I say women because it's like almost always women that reach out to us. We don't really have a case where men were affected. And this was the situation that, of course, affected women in the public life. But now, with AI image generation, with all the normalization of gender-specific online violence that Grok and X brought to the discussion, we see more and more private people in our consultation, which of course is really worrying, because I get asked a lot, how can I protect myself? And you cannot protect yourself, because you need not more than a profile picture. Maybe from Instagram or from LinkedIn. This is all that you need. And these notification apps, they are free of charge in app stores. You can find them in browser applications. And yeah, so it's not really surprising that the problem is growing. And still in Europe, we are lacking sufficient numbers to give the evidence. So yeah, we can see, just one last remark from our trusted flagger experience. We published our first report today, and we found that 40% of our reportings, which is almost 200 reportings, were around this topic, either on porn platforms that almost never replied, or on Google image search, or yeah, some were also on other platforms, but this was mainly where we found the images.
Okay. Very, very interesting. And for as we are talking about like takedown and stay down, I wanted your input, Arda and Gerald, on the technical point of view, because it seems like the answer to the stay down is basically to have a technical solution behind to run. I don't know. We talked about with Aurélie about hash list. Is this something that we should explore as being like the reference framework regarding image-based abuse, in particular when it comes to AI-generated content? Like, how is it a challenge for those technologies to truly work and truly protect victims? What are your thoughts on it?
Shall I take the regulatory view on it, and then Gerald can take the technical view of it? And I'd like to go back to the question that you asked in the beginning. What can we from the CSAM field learn for the non-consensual image sharing? And I've been into this is really odd to say it this way, but I've been combating CSAM ever since 2002 when I entered Parliament, and I encountered this world. One police officer told me about this problem of child sex abuse material online, and he showed me some images. Because in the beginning I was like, block it, filter it, take it down. And then he showed me this image of a baby on, this sheep goat, this very traditional. And I was like, oh, no, that's just a naked baby. Well, that's a child and it's naked. And then I understood, we've got a problem, right? And so in the beginning, not long after that, a couple of years after that, I started working for the Dutch hotline. And I can remember in the beginning of those years, we would debate lots of images. Is this child sexual abuse or not? Which is actually odd, because I've asked the team at that point, listen, is this a photo you would put in your office as, look, this is my kid? Everybody would go, no, no, no. Okay, I think so. We have a line here, right? And what we're trying to do is to find legal arguments to get that material down. Mind you, at that point in time, we only had a few thousand reports. We're now looking at hundreds of thousands of reports, and some companies or organizations even millions or billions. So we had that time to debate it. That time is now long gone. And I can see the same thing happening around non-consensual image sharing. If I look at the deepfake situation, I recently had, in my position as regulator, a conversation with a browser, not being Google, on how would you look at deepfake websites. Is that something that you would delist, or maybe, use the algorithm, push a little bit down? And they were like, yeah, well, deepfake, it's so very hard to say whether that's consensual or not. And I said, well, I don't know if you've seen the Taylor Swift images. I think we all know they weren't consensual. And then literally, this person said to me, well, I know some artists who also spread those deepfakes to get more attention. And that's the way of thinking we need to combat. So we can put all technical things in there or not. It's not going to work if we don't change that mentality. And I think, unfortunately, we as a regulator, our mandate stops at 18. And I think that's crazy. I'm very happy we can do a lot for kids up until they're 18, but the day they turn 18, if an image is out there, you're just, let's say it, you're in a bad situation. And that's really bad. That shouldn't be that way. I think for us as regulators, we need to draw the line. We need to set the stage and have to say, listen, this is not acceptable. So actually, I would like to pose questions to platforms. Why are you accepting nude images at all? Why do you think it's normal to spread nude images? Why do you put the burden of proof on the person whose image is being spread? They have to tell you, no, that's not what I want. Compared to child sex abuse material, where you don't have that debate. If it's a minor, it's just illegal, whether you would want it or not. And I think there is something that we need to learn, because, again, I see the same debate that we had in the beginning of the year 2000, when we started thinking of, do you think this image needs to be taken down, or is it just a very inappropriate holiday picture? Take it down, we'll debate it later.
Thanks, Hard.
Yes, and then from a technical side of things after this. Sorry. Yeah.
You can do something.
Yeah, we can do something, but we cannot do it all. But that's not my point. From a technical kind of view, we are doing a lot. There are good things happening. Hashing, detecting, tooling. For example, last year, Off Limits take down 1 million reports with just a small team because of tooling. So it's important, of course. And what is also important, I think, is that that the tooling is offered in an open source, in an open architecture way, so we can join forces, because we have a lot to fight against. But I personally also think the solution is not by the technology. We can, of course, do hashing, recognition, etc., but the law has also something to do. So, yeah.
No, thank you. I skipped a little to the end of the panel, but also regarding legal action that actually can be made as long as the regulatory framework is not like fully working as much as we wanted to. I know 88, for example, made some strategic litigation against some like tech platforms or tech companies at large regarding those kind of situation. Could you tell us more about how you enter that way to tackle those problems?
Sure. Like in a few other cases in other European member states, we were trying to use the GDPR to support a client of ours. Her pictures were stolen from her iCloud. And unfortunately, in this iCloud, there was also an ID. So with her name, her address, everything. And of course, this was used as material to spread these pictures in image galleries all over, very small porn platforms, image galleries, forums, everything. And of course, it was very hard to find them there. But there was one place where they all went together very conveniently, which was Google, the Google image search, to be precise. And one day she Googled her name because she was hoping to find something else. And then all the images popped up. And then there was a process with Google, 1.5 years. We were in touch with Google trying to get rid of these pictures, but they didn't make it. And so we took the case to court. And are doing this on the GDPR basis now, and it actually looks quite promising. So I hope that there will be a good solution for our client and maybe even others who are affected. We saw the GDPR being applied by many other courts. For instance, in Amsterdam also, I think it was against X-Hamster. Yeah, very nice. I like it. So like, yeah, these are like other examples, and we should ask more questions, like why are you processing this data even? Like you said, I really felt it. And take more cases to court. But unfortunately, I read a very nice sentence this week, because we have a huge debate about sexualized deepfakes in Germany right now. And it said like not only the shame has to change sides, also the anger. And I think that this is very true, because the reason why there are so little court cases is that the women are so ashamed of what happened to them and not even daring to contact helplines about it. Yeah, and not even thinking about taking it to court to process it for 1 to 3 years or however long it takes.
And that's something to me that is interesting. Is like using the GDPR, because even like 2 years ago there was this directive that came into force criminalizing NCII. So requiring member states to actually criminalize in the national law those kind of offense. But it goes back to the question, the things you mentioned, Laura Blue, on the burden of proof, which is actually you have to prove that you. And Arda touched upon it also, but like you have to prove that you weren't you didn't consent to the photo being published. So how does it truly apply to a situation where someone, because we know at One Contact we do deal with those kind of content and victim, and know that sometimes the platform will ask for a selfie with the date on it. And so what are your experience on it?
I would say that to take back also on what was said by you and also Josephine, that that there is a heavily burden of proof relying on the victim that is quite unnatural, because, for example, in France, normally it doesn't have to be the victim that prove the infractions, but okay. So you have to. So you're going to have to take pictures. You're going to keep them, the links. But how do you get the links if you don't know the groups where they're being circulated on? So it's a really heavy work. We're very happy that hash exists, but it's all those techniques to take it down and to identify those pictures on diverse platforms are very useful, but they also rely enormously on the goodwill of those platforms. So what happens when they stop? When they say, okay, we don't want to do it anymore? You have to, as you said, maybe give a selfie with the date on it to prove that you did not consent to it, or maybe you did consent to send the pictures, but you didn't send for the massive diffusion. Or so, where is the limit? How can you? There are not jurists, so it's also from a legal point of view. This is like giving to give a lot of power to those tech companies, and also the maybe something else to be add on, and I forgot about it, so I'm sorry. I was thinking about something else. There is also something that is very hard for the victims, is that when they see AI content, generated content or modified content, they don't even recognize themselves sometimes. But they're like, this is me, but this is not me. And also the psychological impact that has those images is very heavy. And how do you accompany those persons? So it might be AI images, but the impact is very real and is very here, and we have to deal with it as a society also. And it could be very fun to create images, but but sometimes you have to take on your own responsibility. But so for the burden of proof is very hard, and what we do at Respect Zone is that we help them gather the images to help them report them, for example, to Point Contact, but also sometimes with Offmin, we work with them too, and to help in this cooperative way of helping those content to hope that it stay down, because legal cannot be the only answer, because it can be too slow.
Yes, and as the legal may be too slow, Gerald, I saw you wanted to hop in. Like, do you have any insight on the technological or support that you can bring?
Not totally technical, but what we see at Off Limits, that they have some tooling around the helpline, and they're also helping people for image-based nudity, and they're helping 70% of the complaints. They help them because they are a trusted flagger. That's one thing. So they are all taken away, and you have also 20% is going to the police, 10% is caring. Also, it's also important for the woman mostly, but also men, to have some kind of interaction, to be helped with it. It's also important. So I think helplines are important in this area.
Yeah,
Very important.
They definitely are, and as you mentioned, from maybe I give the floor to you again. Yeah, definitely. We saw that even the reports as a trusted flagger are being much like better handled since a year. So we cannot complain about it. It's the whole purpose of the status. But definitely, in what position do we leave the victim? Do we leave the victim that are actually without support for now? So yeah, I can definitely feel that. Maybe
I just wanted to say what I actually forgot about is about something that is maybe everybody knows it, is that online there is also a cultural thing of displaying or seeing or able to be engaged in pornography. It's something that exists and monetize content. Nudity is something that we see every day, and so this is going to be hard to change the mentality, because it's something that is so normal in a way that people are they don't see the limits there. And this is also why, as a legal point of view, the consent could be hard to prove. Regarding back the for example, when you being abused and you don't even realize it, and you're being filmed without you being even realizing it, and then this content is monetized online, I will really say good luck for the person to say that it wasn't consensual. So how do you prove it? So it brings us back to Gisèle Pellicot and her fight, but it's something very hard. Like,
yeah, go on.
Well, I think it's a very excellent point, and it kind of makes you wonder why being in the adult industry in the offline world is completely regulated, but the online world it's not. And maybe there could be an answer in regulating the online adult industry. I think you had some representative here this morning from the adult industry. They already have lots of checks and balances to make sure that their platform isn't abused for this type of non-consensual image sharing. But we all know that, and we know it indeed from the court case to X-Hamster and even Google. I mean, that lots of people think it's free flow of information. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with the body and nudity and sex and everything. It's part of life. We wouldn't be here if there wasn't sex involved, right? We wouldn't be born. Right? But to abuse it, we need to have more safeguards. And I think maybe we should try to have a look at that.
Very quickly. It's not only the industry itself. Why are nudification apps even allowed that are advertised with this app is nudifying women as soon as you click on it, and you can put the picture of a face inside, and then it even suggests which sexual act the picture is supposed to do. Why is this allowed? Why is it in the app stores? Why are these websites are still online? I don't get it. It's really like, for me, this is no freedom of expression issue or art issue or whatever. There is no human right on creating porn with one click in a second. This is not what I think we should accept.
Can I just comment on that? Because we as a regulator with a couple of other regulators in the Netherlands kind of really did a deep dive on these Nudify apps and tools, and we found that it's very hard within the regulatory fields to combat them. So I'm very happy that the European Union now, via the IAX, has really banned those tools, and I do hope that it will be an administrative law, so we will have the possibility to order websites to take that down.
And that allows me to give the floor back also to Aurélie regarding what can be done from a law enforcement perspective regarding detection. We've talked about like app stores being thrown, application being thrown out in the app stores to create some content, but what can you actually really do, and for the audience maybe like the legal perspective on detection and what are you allowed to do, what can you do as the framework is now?
Thanks, Jan. Yeah, I was listening and we talked about a lot about consent for adults, of course. Well, the good point, let's say, if we can put it that way, for CISAM is that children can't consent as long as there is sex, and children, there's something going wrong. So the consents, they don't have to face the burden of proving or not proving that it wasn't consensual. Still, we encounter some challenges, and on that point, Arda, you mentioned that at the beginning in the introduction, we've took a step back in the legal area on the European level, as the detection, the voluntarily detection from platform won't be allowed anymore starting this Friday on the 3rd of April. The temporary regulation that was going on for a few years while we were negotiating, trying to negotiate would be fair, a permanent one, won't be in place anymore. So the problem is, how do we build strong and efficient hash bases? How do we use our tools if we are not allowed to receive reports from NGOs, from platforms? How are we going to do that? So that's a huge concern for law enforcement. Still, we have some tools. We have derogatory tools to inquire within the internet. So I won't go deep in that because, of course, secret is key for us to keep our tools efficient. But still, we have some possibilities. Unfortunately, I don't think there are such high-power tools that I don't see how we could use it massively for adult consent. So that's a negative point. But even for CISAM, it's not enough, actually. So we really, I mean, the internet is massive. In a few seconds, content is copied, it's disseminated again, and it can't be stopped. So we really need automatic tools and a firm regulation to be able, for platforms, for law enforcement, for organizations, to tackle these contents and remove them, because there's no human rights there. I completely agree on that. We cannot see some liberty in putting a child in a sexual position and disseminating all over the world.
Yeah. And maybe, as I see the clock ticking slowly, maybe the opportunity for each of you to give a last word before opening the session to the audience, and maybe allow them to ask you some question. Last few words, like what do you think should be explored regarding avenues, perhaps from a broader perspective and a systemic approach, and we touched on it a bit, in order to bring that shift in society in the protection of sexual imagery online? Maybe starting with Gerald and then going back to...
Okay, thank you. Yeah, from my point of view, I think it is important to connect all the initiatives around the tooling, because the AI is on this moment used in a negative way, but you can also use it in a positive way by detecting it. And we have to connect universities with small teams, and we need an open structure where we can reuse that kind of AI, positive AI, to detect this kind of things in a quicker way. So hotlines can use them very quickly. We have to join with each other, public and private companies also, to fight this.
Good point, Gerald. I'd like to go back to something that Aurélie said, because unfortunately we didn't solve the CSAM problem yet. We can only take lessons, what did work and what didn't work. So if we want to have a systematic approach, I think we should analyze the situation more. And I know it's hard beyond, the anger that we feel on what's happening. So as ATKM, we're also part of GOSRN, the Global Online Safety Regulators Network. And under our lead, we have just started a project around child sex abuse material, identifying all different types of CSAM, because what once started via a process of notice and takedown, and then with hash databases, we didn't really recognize as hotlines or law enforcement or regulators combating CSAM, that there's a diversity. Also now with AI-generated CSAM, live streaming is something different. What started consensual but then became non-consensual is also different. So there's a lot of different forms of child sex abuse material out there, and we tend to all do the same thing, notes and takedown, and then we hope it stays away. Hopefully that research will give us some more ideas and new ideas to combat CSAM. And let's just take those lessons and put them on adult, 18 plus imagery.
Yeah, I already mentioned a couple of things that I wish for. Yeah, actually, I also put some hope in technical solutions, but what worries me most is that for the takedown, we are still relying on the cooperation of platforms, because as I said about our Trusted Flagger report, we saw like the cases that we see, mainly they do not take place on Instagram or like on the big social media platforms or on TikTok or whatever. They take place on hundreds of very small porn platforms that are all over the internet. And if one URL is shut down, they have a new one the next day and just copy their archives. And also we see that the struggle to take these pictures down is a lifelong struggle, since they keep reappearing all the time, because not only because of technical issues, they keep reappearing because people upload them again and again, and they download and screenshot, and they even share manuals on how to best intimidate women and use these tools against them. And this is what worries me the most. And unfortunately, like now we are discussing also if we want these notification apps and so on, there's a person behind every deepfake. Someone who uploaded it, someone who likes it, and someone who wants to keep continuing. And this is a problem that we also have to tackle. I'm a lawyer, so this is I'm not into education, so I cannot tell you how this is done, but I think it's absolutely necessary to also keep this in consideration.
What can we say more? I totally agree with everything that was said before me. Yes, the system lies today on the cooperation and the goodwill of platform. I already said that. We have to build consciousness and responsibility for everyone that is actually keep posting, keep creating those kind of imaging. And maybe a word from my field perspective. So with Respect Zone, we go every day on the field meeting the young, and not just the young. And we hope that it will change the mentality, because it's about culture. If we believe that there is no responsibility within the action, if the internet is a free world, that is not okay anymore. I'm also a lawyer, and I believe law is a tool, and if those actions are forbidden, they should be enforced, and also everybody should know that they are forbidden and why they are forbidden. Saying that something is forbidden is not enough. Understanding why it is, the risk of the victims, the impact, not just on the victim, but also the society. When we see that women cannot be free online, they have to change their voices to play on video games. It's not okay. It's not a free world. if you cannot be on it as you want it to. So, so yes, for me, like using the law, more cooperation, more tools, responsibility for actions, and going on the field, educating.
Thank you. And Aurélie, maybe last. Do you want to?
The last word. My God. Maybe I could react on education, actually, surprisingly, for CISAM, maybe. But we really, what strikes me is that the internet is a space of freedom for everyone and for mostly parents. They don't see and they don't get the danger there for their children. So education is key for parents first, for children after, because that's what creates spaces for criminals to target victims. But also, I think we could search deeper in the inclusion of researches and helping also criminals. That's a hard point, I know. But people with these tendencies, with these problems, they need to be addressed. They are a part of society. Somehow we see they are not so little part of society, unfortunately. So we also have to think of the real life, not the online one, because the content, as you said, it comes from persons, physical persons, and starting them there also is a way of working toward less content of children and less abuse.
Yeah, thank you so much. I could not agree more, and maybe something for the next edition, but masculinist movement should appear in the discussion, and that's something we could go a little bit longer. But I want to ask if anyone in the audience, if someone has any question for one of our panelists. We have 5 minutes ahead of us. So, yeah, maybe Jean-Christophe, you could help.
Great question. Yes. It can be also, you may share your experience. Or
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a risk analyst in cybersecurity, and I have a technical question. So you explained how the law should work in collaboration with the tools, but can you provide like an example? Like for instance, Aurélie mentioned that if it's regarding children, then it's illegal, so it's supposed to immediately be taken down. But currently, I'm wondering how does it work? Because I feel like if you're using a tool and then like, so the AI is identifying that this is like a children that is nude, whatever, but then how does it work like with the platform itself? Like for instance, if there is like an image right now on Instagram or whatever, like you have some things to alert, but however, if it's in a platform like she mentioned, like, I don't know, pornographic platform, what tools do we have, especially if it's not something that is French? So basically I can, like people can watch the content in France, but if it's not like hosting in France, how, like, we kind of limited, I feel, I don't know.
Yeah. From a technical point of view, again, you can have hash matching, so you can recognize the image, but you have to work together for the hash lists. You have to work together to exchange them. There are a couple of platforms worldwide who are distributing hashes from images. So an image what is classified as CSAM in the Netherlands can be taken down in the French because it's on the hash list.
Okay.
That's. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's gonna take a bit of time.
We can speak about it after.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Maybe Aurélie and
Yeah, just a point. Thank you for the question. Really interesting, because I didn't mention, but of course, content is not only content for us. It's a way of detecting victims and abusers. So it's a way for us to identify children in current danger. and their abusers, the criminals. So for us, what's really important is it's been done in a cooperative way. What most platforms do, actually, technically, is that as soon as they have detected an illicit content, and more or less they've been cooperating with the police, the NECMEC I mentioned before, for a long time, so they know how to classify. So Google also has a classifier, a CISAM classifier, which is working very well. And so as soon as they have detected it, they take all the technical details. So they keep it and they provide it in a report, first to the NECMEC for a lot of them, so for a national an American center, but which is cooperating with law enforcement officers all around the world. So the reports are brought back to the country where it is geolocated, okay? And at the same time, they take it down, okay, for children. The point is, from a French point of view, it's quite obvious and easy because our legislation is quite broad. Any kind of representation of a child, any kind, in a sexual position is forbidden. So it means images, of course, videos. It means also pictures, something like mangas. So all these forms of sexual representation of children are illicit. It's also is easy for things like dolls that had been discussed at the last year from Shein and all this type of things. They are also forbidden. So it's quite obvious for a French person that it's has to be taken down. I know that for some other countries it's not so easy, but for us. And it also, as you mentioned, it's a worldwide organization. So when we cooperate with platforms, even if they are not located in France, if it's a CISAM, they are able to take it down.
Okay, thank you.
There, one last question. We have 2 minutes before I guess there is a break. Anyone? We can finish a bit earlier. It's okay, I think.